So if you ask me what do I get for my levies, I have to say, what is the value of influence? We have 4 major stakeholders in the grain industry, and that would be the farmers, the input supply chain that need to supply the inputs to the farmers. You have the output supply chain that need to process and market the produce that the farmers produce. And then you have government. Government's primary role is to create an enabling environment for us all to do business. So it is imperative that we are all able to influence that environment within which we produce grain.
As a grain farmer from Swaziland in Northwest Province that's been farming for 25 years with maize and soybeans, I've realized that a lot of things happen outside my farm gate that I necessarily as an individual don't have any ability to influence or to change. But being a paid-up member of a producer organization like Grain South Africa, they handle the things that happen outside of my farm that I have no influence on. And over the years, I've seen the big difference they've made in terms of our ability to farm profitable and to farm sustainable.
For me as a farmer, it is important to pay all my attention on my operations and on the day-to-day management of my business. And I cannot do that if I haven't got an organization like Grain South Africa who can pay attention to all the macro political stuff that is constantly on our table. And there's a lot of that sort of new laws, regulations, politics that is actually a threat for the sustainability of my business.
As a grain farmer, one of the big success stories for me was the development of the soybean industry in this country. This past 3 years, soybeans was the most profitable crop we could farm in the area where I am. And many farmers have been given a big boost by the profits they made from soybeans this past 2-3 years, and have recovered from many difficult years before that. And today we'd like to say thank you to Grain South Africa for putting in much hard work from 2008 to develop a market for soybeans, without which soybean production would not have been profitable or possible for us. In 2008, we could only produce 300,000 tons of soybeans, whereas in the past season, we were able to produce 1.8 million tons of soybeans for the local market. And this made soybeans a viable alternative and a very profitable alternative, which we did not have before.
So when we talk about tangibly measuring our ability to influence, the first thing that comes to mind in the winter grain industry, we could influence the environment to start a pre-breeding program which had benefits to the farmers, and we could actually effect a turnaround strategy in the wheat business. And when you measure it, farmers are telling you that they put about 200 rands per ton in their pocket. When you talk about the canola industry, we influence that environment to grow the canola industry to where we've taken in the largest canola crop in the country's history. When we talk about the barley industry, we constantly try and influence that environment to improve the opportunity to grow barley in South Africa to feed the beer industry. When we want to measure our ability to influence tangibly, we think of the maize grading regulations that we influenced recently. So farmers were adversely penalized by water-stained kernels and water-damaged kernels that were regarded as defective. Science proved that there was no influence on the quality of those maize, and we could make a calculation as to what value that brought to farmers by influencing that. When we think of the fertiliser monitoring program, I had an experience when Grain SA started with the monitoring where I bought a product that was supposed to contain 16p and ended up only containing 8p. So a massive 50% shortfall on the product. A more recent example is 2% shortfall on a nitrogen product equates to a total of 33 Rand and 90 cents benefit to the farmer. Government has a responsibility to enforce food safety regulations. In order to do that, they employed an international company to come and regrade all the grain in the country. In order to fund this operation, government was going to charge the farmers 4 Rand a ton. Now, that simply is not acceptable, and we influenced that environment initially by participating in the processes, and once we were not successful in that, we went to legal process where an appeal process was followed, and we managed to stop that in its entirety. Farmers tell us that they're tired of hearing about the diesel rebate. So let's just have a look where the diesel rebate comes from. Initially, all road and road accident taxes were charged on diesel that we burn in the fields. It's got nothing to do with roads and road accidents. Grain SA was instrumental in negotiating the diesel rebate, and subsequently is continuously instrumental in maintaining the diesel rebate. We also have an expert in the office who assists and facilitates with disputes with regard to your diesel rebate. That brings you a total of 30 Rand and 80 cents in your pocket per ton.
Now you've heard from everyone why they feel it's beneficial to be part of the Grain SA system. And a lot of the work we're doing is not always based on a monetary value, but some of it is more on a long-term objective. That would be opening up markets, influencing policy. But let's go and have a look at the beneficial side that we can put in terms of a Rand value. This includes benefits such as leave services, the fertiliser monitoring, diesel rebate, and a maize grading system. And if we look at that, for the R3.35 per tonne that you pay on your levies, you get a return on investment of 2,142%, which is great value.
There is a saying that if you are not on the table, you are on the menu. So if Grain SA is not seen as communicating and being involved in government and political issues or government issues, then we will be on the menu and they will eat us for breakfast. So that's important for me to have this agency that looks after the issues which I cannot pay attention to. It is important that we must grow our membership so that we can get the critical mass of members for the grain industry in South Africa. If we look at the benefit that we get from the 0.12% that we pay of the value of our products, the return on that is absolutely huge. And there are so many examples which I can put to you. I think it's important that every farmer must ask himself, why am I not member of Grain South Africa? And I think it's important for our sustainability in the future and our profitability to seriously think of becoming members of Grain South Africa.